Hello and welcome to this week's episode of GIANT's Healthy Innovators TV. My name is Barry Shrier and I'm your host. Thank you very much to all of our thousands of listeners from around the world. These episodes are brought to you by GIANT Health. GIANT is an acronym which stands for Global Innovation and New Technology. We are an international community of nearly 200,000 people, everybody around the world whose business is healthcare, technology, and innovation. We would like to thank some of our sponsors. Thank you very much to McKinsey and Partners, our knowledge partner. Thank you to Barclays Bank. Thanks to Vodafone Business. We love working with you guys and very, very pleased to be having an ongoing partnership with you. And in particular, we'd like to thank Innovate UK Edge. We love working with you guys. We're grateful for the support that you've been providing to us and very, very keen to be developing our partnership with you. So to begin with, hello, Angela. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Barry.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us. And hello, Pete. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks, Barry. And I hope you are too.
Yeah, no, doing very well. Glad to be back behind the seat, so to speak. And likewise, Tim, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
All right. Hi. How are you doing? Very well.
Very good. So every week, what we do is we bring together some leading people who are driving innovation and supporting the advancement of technology innovation and successful acceleration of the adoption of technology, which is very important for healthcare. So today, I'm very, very happy to have Angela and Pete from Innovate UK Edge and to have Tim, who's CEO of Protein Rebel. We want to talk a little bit first about what Innovate UK Edge is all about. And we also want to talk about the services that you guys provide, some of the benefits. And of course, Tim, love to hear from you as the CEO of a very interesting business, some of the challenges and successes that you've accomplished. So Angela, to begin with, let's talk a little bit about Innovate UK Edge. What are you guys doing? What are some of your own accomplishments, please?
Well, Innovate UK Edge it covers actually pretty much everything in the GIANT acronym. So Innovate UK Edge is the support service for innovation-led but growth-ambitious SMEs provided by Innovate UK, which is the UK's innovation arm, part of the UK government. What Innovate UK Edge is all about is helping those companies that are truly innovative to harness that innovation, commercialize it to grow and scale their businesses. We provide support in a raft of areas to support businesses, but to keep things nice and simple, it falls into three main categories. One is helping companies to exploit their innovation, looking at all the wraparound infrastructure of a company, things like their IP management, their business model, their value proposition, making sure they have everything in place to really drive commercialization of innovation.
Brilliant.
We also help companies to access funding and finance. That can be through grant mechanisms, getting them investor ready, all sorts of things in between. So looking at helping them to develop the financial road mapping to support innovation. Finally, and not least, we look globally. We help companies to enter new markets. That can be verticals within the UK, also looks internationally. And we have connections in 60 countries globally to help people find those collaborative partners to support commercializing their innovations. So that's us in a very, very broad brush nutshell.
Excellent. Thank you. I mean, it's an enormous program, obviously, of quite detailed and comprehensive services and benefits. So thank you very much for that, Angela. Pete, do you want to add to that a little bit? Let's hear a little bit, please, about your own role and examples of what you guys have been doing recently.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. And that was a really comprehensive analysis, Angela, of what we do. It was brilliant. I think that the other thing I would add to that is that it's certainly in my experience as an innovation and growth specialist, a lot of our work has been helping people like Tim really unlock a passion and really find a way to bring a great idea into the space and really drive that forward. And from my experience over the last 18 months working in this space that I've not worked in previously, my background has been with global sized organizations. A lot of the challenges are really the same, that they were all wanting to get to somewhere. Yes. And they've got some challenges to overcome.
Yes.
And the great thing about what we've been able to do and the learning that I've done over the last 18 months is it's been a pleasure to work with organizations that perhaps have really got that passion behind, but not necessarily the clarity of where to go next. And what we do is just provide them with the support and the challenge in the right way to really unlock what it is they're seeking to achieve.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. From my experience, Pete, there are an awful lot of, what do you want to call it, lessons which can be learned. There are patterns, aren't there, when you're launching new businesses, when you're creating new technologies, when you're trying to drive the successful implementation of new innovations. And I guess the challenge that we have as entrepreneurs is making sure that alongside the 999 other unbelievably urgent priorities, we're not reinventing the wheel wherever we can avoid that. And so I can imagine that that's one of the areas that you guys can help with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tim, tell us please about you, and we'd love to hear a little bit about how did your business come about, and what did you guys do? What do you guys do?
Sure. Well, let me just start off by introducing Protein Rebel, and then kind of talk about how I came up with the idea after that. So Protein Rebel is a sports nutrition brand focused on high protein products. So we're really targeting the endurance athletes. So that's people that are maybe running over 5 miles, going to the gym, but doing that for an hour, not someone's just taking selfies. People that are swimming for a couple of miles, and cycling for 20 miles.
Wow.
So
when you say like swimming for a couple miles, is that per year?
No, the idea is per session, because with protein, the reason why you would take protein if you're an endurance athlete is to, one, help you recover, so avoid those aches and pains that you often get from exercising hard, but also to promote this thing called muscle synthesis, which basically helps restore the fibers in your muscles that have broken through exercise, and it's that process of restoring those fibers that makes the muscle strong again. And you can go faster, you can go longer. So that's what we're all about here.
Nice. Tim, how did you discover Innovate UK Edge, and what are examples of the type of work you guys are doing together?
So it was actually through the University of Chester, because for me, you want a sports nutrition product that's actually working, so you need some science behind it. So I was very keen to work with some academics to test out my theories, especially when you're using new types of proteins as we are. There's just not the research out there. So that was really important for me. And it was through that sort of conversation with the business support hub they have at the university and the academics that I came across Innovate UK. And then really the kind of key things that those guys have helped me with have been structure. We talked about that kind of entrepreneurial journey. It's a roller coaster, isn't it? It's up and down.
Absolutely.
You have lots of successes and there are quite a few failures as well. So you're always kind of going up and down. So structure was great. Introducing me to other people, other companies. So that was really interesting. And probably a big one, money. So grants, I'm not a civil servant. My background has nothing to do with the government. And anyone that has ever looked at a grant application will realise there's a certain format, a certain way of speaking.
Absolutely.
And you need some advice to do that.
Yes.
The reason I'm laughing about that, Tim, is because that's quite a large part of what I do within the Innovate UK Edge team. And from my background, I've been in your position, Tim. I've been working in a small biotech SME spin-out for about 8 years before I joined. And one of my roles was to generate grant funding for the internal R&D program. So I've seen it from both sides of the fence. So that's one of the reasons I do what I do with Innovate UK Edge today. Innovation is expensive. The grant funding landscape is interesting, shall we say, to people who aren't familiar with it. I mean, Tim, was that your experience? Did you just look at the number of grants available, look at the application forms and just go, what on earth?
Yeah, I mean, my instinct is to go, you know what, it's just not worth the hassle, to be honest. So but I also have to weigh that up with, the potential.
Yes.
There's some big money on the market here, support from the government for companies like me trying to do new and interesting things. So, it's worthwhile trying to navigate that. But in my experience, you definitely need some help because there's some very specific ways of writing these things.
Yes. Excellent.
So,
So obviously, Tim, that's quite an important feature, isn't it, of the benefits and services available from Innovate UK Edge. And I mean, I think everybody would agree that finding the grants that are available and figuring out which ones to apply for, and having to weigh up for you as an entrepreneur and a CEO. I suspect you're rather busy most of your working days, and to say to yourself, right, how much time can I justify allocating to these grant applications? All these challenging questions in your own mind. So obviously, I can imagine that the support available and the guidance that you can get from Innovate UK Edge would be really, really valuable there.
Yeah, because they always kind of culminate, and you need to fill out often a very large application form, so that equals a lot of time, and then it has to go through some sort of evaluation process, which is normally opaque at best, and then you're given a result, which is either you get the grant or you don't get the grant.
Yep.
So if you're going to go through all of that effort, you want to go with as much certainty that you're going to be successful as possible.
Yes.
And that's where these guys have been very helpful for Protein Rebel.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, I think as well, Tim, on that, I mean, as you alluded to, Barry, the complexity that an entrepreneur has to deal with as they're growing their business and the competing priorities. And having joined this world, as I said, not too long ago, realizing that there was such a fund available to help support businesses like Protein Rebel was really eye-opening. But the complexity of going through that process is a real challenge. And unless the language is correct, unless you're putting your story across in the right way, then being able to be successful in that process is quite difficult. But having people like Angela who've worked in both sides of this world, from being a small business, but on the other side, is a great strength that I think we have to be able to provide to people like Tim. So I'm glad he was successful, Tim. That's the good thing.
yeah, exactly. And also, it's just the general conversations you can have. If you've ever started a business, it's fantastic, but it can be a bit lonely. You don't have the same support networks that you do when you're working in a large organization.
Yes.
So, you're doing everything. Yeah, you're making big decisions for your little company, and then you're also cleaning the office as well, and everything in between. So having someone else just to talk things through with can also be very helpful. Kind of a listening ear, really. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Oh no, that's fabulous, and it's so encouraging to hear that all that valuable service is available for businesses like yours, Tim. So, Pete, are you also involved in the grant application area, or are you involved in other areas for Innovate UK Edge also?
Yeah, I leave the grant application process to experts like Angela. But that's and that's the good thing about Innovate UK Edge is we can tap into different expertise. So you might meet one of us as a kind of lead for you in terms of the relationship, but we will provide the right type of service by bringing in experts. And we have a large pool of people that we now service. My particular expertise is around organizational strategy, growth, be it through merger acquisition or growth through organic, and also challenging from a business coaching perspective around leadership capability to help an entrepreneur go from, as Tim alluded to, where you do everything, into being structured in terms of the business, identifying what we need to bring in and what expertise we need, where we might get it from, and then building the business to allow it to get to the point where it's ready to scale and we can help the business take that step forward.
Excellent. No, very good stuff.
And Tim, from your experience of going through that grant application process, because no grant application is only looking at the technical side of the project, it is about the business. It is about, have you got the business model to take it into market? It's all the other wraparound. Did you find that process made you think about other aspects of the business and going, oh, actually, that's an area within the business that we kind of need extra support on?
Yeah, I can understand why you're saying that. And yes, I mean, I think you're constantly looking at your business, thinking, can I improve it, basically? And often that's kind of redefining or defining your target market more closely, and then looking at ways to improve your product. So, those sorts of processes, when you're going through any sort of grant application, you have to kind of do that because you have to reiterate it every single time. So yes, it does help. But it's something you want to do anyway as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
And that again shows where Innovate UK Edge comes in, because it's never, it is just this thing or it is just that thing. It's to say you might start off with a company like yours, Tim, going, we're looking for funding.
Yes.
And then the conversation can spin off into, well, actually, to strengthen your application, you need to look at your IP. You need to look at your business model. It can bring in all sorts of other things, which is why we have people like Pete. And I think across the North, there's a 50 specialists like us in different areas that can bring this into a business, because you might start talking about one thing, but then it unpacks a lot of other factors that also need looking at in terms of commercializing your innovation.
Exactly. Angela, do you find that a lot of businesses first hear about Innovate UK Edge because of the grant services, but then they discover the enormous list of additional opportunities and benefits that are available, or is Innovate UK Edge also well known for providing these other services?
It's a little bit of both, Barry, because Innovate UK funds a lot of research and innovation grants, especially to the SME community.
Right.
So some companies come to us through that avenue. They've looked at the grants that are available, they want to apply, and that's how they get introduced to us. Others, they come in through various other avenues. So, for example, there is what we call the Innovate UK family, which is, so shall we say, the rough analogy is sort of brother and sister organisations. So we have the knowledge transfer network, specialist expertise in discrete technology sectors. There's also the catapults, which are centres of excellence for specific technologies. So some come to us through those avenues. We work with the SME community and other stakeholders. So we do work with the universities. We do work with people like the local enterprise partnerships and growth hubs, that themselves work with the SME community. So we do have quite a wide reach. People do come to us from all sorts of various avenues.
Yes.
It's not just about the grant funding.
Understood. And how do businesses find you, or what's the port of call? How what are ways for people, for example, our listeners right now, to learn more about what you guys offer and to make contact with you? How do they go about that?
Really easily, you can Google Innovate UK Edge, and we have our wonderful colleagues at the National Inquiry Gateway, which is situated in the lovely city of Bradford. Get in contact with them. They can be your first port of call, and then they will connect you with the specialist team. So they'll put you in touch with people like me, people like Pete.
Excellent. No, that's important to know. Tim, I'm very curious about your, like I said, your entrepreneurial journey. And once again, congratulations on what you've accomplished so far. It's very impressive. And we know that overnight success comes after 20 years of very, very hard work. And but
absolutely.
But what else is going on in your business that might overlap with your activities and the support that you're getting from Innovate UK Edge, for example?
So, like I said, science is really important to me, because I want to make sure our products work.
Yes.
So you can just imagine any sort of science takes time and it takes money. So we've managed to actually do some research, but some research that we wanted to do has been delayed because of the pandemic. Because we want to involve people and comparisons between different proteins and their effect on your muscles. But that has been delayed. But also it costs money as well. So whilst we did have all the grants and everything lined up previously, that's not the case at the moment. So we need to sort that out. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We're also looking at new types of products that we can bring out.
Oh,
That's kind of exciting because that will really help us grow as a company, and drive more sales, which obviously every business wants to see.
of course. So on that theme, that's very important. The new product development and innovation relating to that. Pete and Angelo, I'd love to hear more about what Innovate UK Edge offers in that area, because of course that's so important, but not necessarily the first port of call if people are just thinking, okay, well, I should talk to you guys about grant applications and that type of thing.
Yeah, so the diversification and bringing products to market, I think, is a really, really good point that Tim's brought up there, because actually
Yes.
sometimes, and then particular clients I've worked with, we've worked with them initially around one product, but very quickly they notice from sometimes the market research we can provide them with, and sometimes further just challenge around their particular strategy and looking at the commercial landscape, they notice there's some further opportunities. And we're able to help them take advantage of those opportunities, sometimes through connections that we can make. Angela's mentioned the Innovate family, and that's been really, really useful to tap into that. Yes. But also just sometimes personal connections that we might have where we'll create a conversation with people within our network. I was talking to a client this morning whose particular niche market they're looking at is the theatre, and I'm quite connected in that world, so I was able to connect them with somebody else, and that might lead to something that opens doors. But also there's collaboration that we can help, where we can put them in touch with similar organizations or organizations that might provide them with a service. And Angela, I guess this also leads into the internationalization piece.
It does, because if we think about innovation as the commercialization of invention,
right,
to be truly innovative, you're really looking at global markets or the potential for global markets.
Okay.
So what we can do is help you find the collaborative partnerships you need to take your innovations into the global marketplace. I mentioned earlier, we have connections in 60 countries globally. Nice. So key markets, so Europe, the Asian markets, all sorts in between. And it's not just about sales. It is about collaborative partnerships, about understanding where the markets are, how to enter those markets, things like what are the regulatory aspects, cost, legal, how do I get into this marketplace?
Yes.
And then it can be about helping you find those connections on the ground to help you enter those markets. And we can help you find suitable partners for that. Almost like not exactly an extra business development arm, but sort of taking you through the process of developing that side of your business in order to help you commercialize.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's very, very important. Obviously, GIANT works in the world of healthcare and life science. Does Innovate UK Edge have a unique focus in that industry, or does it cover other industries? And how do you go about the development of capability, but in industries?
We are, well, the term we use is sector agnostic.
Yep.
So although we do have quite a large focus on healthcare and life sciences, because that is rather a large sector.
Yes.
We do have a focus on lots of innovative technologies. So satellite technologies, digital, ICT, renewable energies, transport, all sorts of technology areas, which again is why we have such a large team to pull on that have expertise in these different sectors.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Well, that makes a lot of difference. A lot of people in the GIANT Health community are professional investors, and of course, most investors have a particular sector focus, but they are involved in numerous industries and sectors. So, I think a lot of our listeners would find that interesting. So, do you have an ideal, what do you want to call it, company size? For example, does Innovate UK Edge only deal with early stage startups?
We deal with companies from early stage. So they've got to be established, have a little bit of traction going.
Right.
But up to companies around as long as they have fewer than 500 employees.
Oh, wow.
And we can work with them.
Yeah, so up to quite large, obviously.
Up to quite large.
Yes.
We tend to work more around the 10 to 50 mark. That tends to be quite a lot of companies we work with.
Yes.
That's why I'm sort of pulled a slight face when I say, what is your ideal company? Because we deal with such a wide variety of fantastic companies with marvellous innovations. It is difficult to go, what is the Innovate UK Edge company? Because they come in all sorts of shapes, sizes, technology sectors and stages.
Yes.
Everything from seed stage right through to scale up. And we do have a specific scale up program to help those companies. So we can work with, handhold you through all sorts of stages of your business's growth and development.
Nice. So I guess
Sorry,
Tim,
Barry, I was just gonna add in there, if I could, Barry, that I think that's a really good thing behind the Innovate UK Edge, is that we're able to take organisations on a journey, because we've got experience at different stages, right
Absolutely.
up to scale up. We can provide hopefully the right expertise, or even just the right nudge at the right time to help an organisation move to where it needs to get to.
Yes.
And I think that part of the joy of doing it is the fact that you can, over time, and certainly over a period that we're connected with the companies, we can start to see some of that growth. Not always see it come to complete fruition, but we can certainly start to see them taking control of that journey for themselves, as Tim and Protein Rebel are doing now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes things do take longer than you anticipate, especially when you have those kind of massive road bumps like this pandemic. That has changed everything in terms of the way we approach things, how we interact with people. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Tim,
I think it's been a good thing that Innovate UK Edge have done, and Innovate UK have done, in terms of that support they provided during the pandemic. Because the amount of opportunity that was presented and support to help organisations get through it,
yes,
but also capitalise on the situation we found ourselves in by providing solutions that help us move, hopefully, beyond the pandemic and into the world that comes afterwards. And certainly some of the technologies in the healthcare sector that I've been involved in have been focused around our recovery from this, but also learning from the experiences we have to start to put new things into practice.
Yes, that's very, very important. Tim, tell us a little bit about your future plans, and where do you see the business going? What's your vision, for example, for the next 5 years? And do you see additional opportunities for your business in the way that you're engaging with Innovate UK Edge, for example?
Yeah, I think we've got loads of potential, loads of opportunities out there.
Nice.
Just like we talked about with the pandemic, it's really heightened everyone's kind of focus on health and well-being generally. And as things start to open up, we'll see more sporting events and more people participating in sports. So that need for sports nutrition products will continue to grow.
Absolutely.
For us specifically, we're about bringing new types of protein to market. So those are more effective than the current offer. And also sustainability is a key thing with these new types of proteins. So one of the great things about crickets, for example, is that they use less of everything, less land, less water, less feed input than traditional sources of protein. And that's going to be increasingly important, especially when you consider the fact that, I don't know whether you knew this, but the UK is forecast to be a water scarce country in 20 years' time.
Oh, okay.
A country that rains all the time. So you can just think about the impact and the changes that are happening across the world. So sustainability will become a much bigger driver in people's purchase decisions. So we want to bring more products that are really focused on delivering results and also sustainability. So once we start to do that, we focus on the UK first of all, and then we've got opportunities elsewhere around the globe.
Exactly, which dovetails perfectly with the what do you want to call it, the additional services that are available from Innovate UK Edge in terms of that global reach that you guys have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does, because actually researching foreign markets is really difficult. There's a heap load of legislation to get over and regulation for the food industry.
Sure.
So just because the food is safe and legal in the UK doesn't mean that it is anywhere else. So you need to work your way through that and understand what you need to change.
Yes. Is that something, Pete and Angela, that you guys find that, look, the world is complicated, and that if you're busy running your own business, but you have the ambition to enter foreign markets, that's yet another layer or several layers of complexity. But for you guys, you can have that expertise, and you can develop that expertise in whatever, in regulatory affairs in California, for example, which allows you to bring that unique expertise back to a large group of businesses.
Exactly. And we do have people that can do the market intelligence, find out what the regulations are. We can ask people on the ground. So we can ask our colleagues in the 60 countries globally,
right?
What does this actually mean? And it does work in reverse. I had an inquiry once asking about, it was for a breathalyzer product.
Okay.
Asking, what is the UK limit? There is the one for England and Wales, and it's a different one for Scotland.
Okay.
So there's that kind of nuance as well. But we do have people on the ground that we can ask and go, what's the situation? What's the reality?
No, that's fascinating. So we were asking Tim, obviously, about the future and the vision of your business, Tim. Similarly with you guys, Pete and Angela, is Innovate UK Edge growing, or is it shrinking, or is it narrowing its focus, or combining with other government programs?
We will be here. We will be here for the foreseeable future, working with as many companies as we can possibly get engaged with.
Yes.
So we're certainly not going anywhere in the short term.
Excellent.
No.
And are you guys increasing your offer, or how do you navigate? If I, for example, want to figure out, well, what are all the different services available from different government agencies? Is there a focus that you guys are sticking with?
The focus that we're sticking with is driving growth of innovation companies.
Yes.
So with that, the services that we add on, and there are things that we're doing that are fairly new. So we're doing things like the Global Business Innovation Program,
right,
which is taking countries in specific sectors to specific countries. So helping them to develop that international mindset. There's the Global Incubator Program,
right,
which is a little bit different, but looking at a longer term settling in country.
Okay.
There is Young Innovators. So looking at young people aged 18 to 30 that have an innovative idea and want to develop it. And there's Women in Innovation, looking particularly at female entrepreneurs. And there's all sorts of other things going on as well. As I say, we could devote an entire day's worth of programming to the Innovate UK Edge offering.
Yes. Excellent. Well, I mean, that's good to hear. I'm wondering if I'm too old for the Young Innovators program. But if I am, it sounds like there's so many other incredibly valuable opportunities. And I must admit, I don't think I was aware of the breadth of your offer and the depth of your offer as you're talking about, number one, all these different initiatives that you've listed, but number two, the internationality of it. And so this has been very, very informative. I think what we want to do is probably wrap up quite soon. I would love to grab a pint and go into a beer garden and talk to you guys about all of this for another hour and a half, but I don't think we have the time or the luxury to do that, which is a shame. This has been incredibly informative and interesting. Angela and Pete, is there anything else you'd like to add, just in summary, about the services you're offering and how people can engage with you?
I think from my perspective, as Angela has said, it's quite easy to find us and get in contact. And if you're out there with ambition and you've got an idea that you believe can make a difference, and it's something that you really want to give a go, then come and talk to us, and we'll, if it's the right time, we'll work with you and help you bring it to fruition. And the one thing that I think, and I hope Angela agrees with this, that we really enjoy is the fact that it is nice to work with so many different businesses with so many different ideas.
Yes.
In all the different sectors that can produce something that makes a difference, and
yes,
and get access to not only what we can provide in the UK, but as Angela's just alluded to, what we can do worldwide.
Do come and get in touch with us. We're always happy to have a conversation.
Perfect. Angela and Pete, thank you so much. What a pleasure to have you guys on this week's episode of Healthy Innovators TV. And obviously, very keen to keep in touch with you guys. And we would certainly like to do another episode. Maybe we can schedule that because there's, of course, so much that you are involved in, and it's so interesting. And there's so much more detail that I think all of our listeners would love to hear about. So thank you for that. And likewise, Tim, in summary, anything else you want to add? We love your business and congratulations on what you guys are doing. It's so interesting and valuable.
Yeah, doing things differently always takes time, a leap of faith, a bit of luck, and money. So, we're going through a kind of pitching phase at the moment where we're looking for investors. So if anyone's interested in investing in Protein Rebel and hearing more about what we're doing, please drop me a line.
Sure. How much are you looking to raise? And are you doing it in an official round, or are you doing it like on a crowdfunding platform, or how's that working?
No, we're doing it on an official round, which is why I've got to get off this call because we've got our first pitch event at 3:00, which is a bit of a surprise for me. But it's great.
Okay.
So we're doing it as an official round.
Nice.
And we're looking for 150,000. So not a massive amount initially.
Is that SCIS or EIS?
Assumed.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, good. Hey, well, look at Tim. How nice to meet you, and congratulations on the very, very good work and the success of your business to date. And obviously, what a pleasure to learn about the value that you've been able to get from Innovate UK Edge. What a great case study. I'm sure it's one of thousands of successful case studies. So how cool to hear about all the benefits that people can get from engaging with Innovate UK Edge.
Yeah, no, it's been really interesting so far, and it hasn't finished yet.
Excellent. Well, we'll wrap up now, but thanks, you guys. What a pleasure to have you all on this week's episode. Thank you for your time. Congratulations, Tim, on what you guys are doing, and Pete and Angela. How impressive and how gratifying to hear that, coming out of the government is all this value and support for innovation. And that's, of course, the cornerstone of the success of the economy, isn't it? Driving innovation. So how nice to hear about all the good work that you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Excellent. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll say goodbye now. And so once again, this has been this week's episode of GIANT's Healthy Innovators TV. Once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors, like to say thank you to all of our thousands of listeners from around the world. As a reminder, if you find these weekly TV shows interesting, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to like this episode, and we would, of course, love to ask you all to share these videos with everybody in your business community. The more we grow our global community of people working in healthcare and technology and innovation, the more services and benefits we can offer to everyone. One last reminder that the big annual event that we run, the GIANT Health event, is on the 30th of November, 1st of December. That's the GIANT Health event, www.giant.health. You can read all about it on our website. According to the Financial Times newspaper, it's Europe's largest, most valuable annual healthcare tech event. So we would love to invite all of our listeners to join us and hope to see you there. Once again, I'm Barry Shrier. Thanks to Angela, thanks to Pete, thanks to Tim. This has been this week's episode of GIANT's Healthy Innovators TV. Thank you very much.